All right, this is Monte Moore. Welcome to another session of Art Attack. This evening I'm not going to be doing any art, and I'm going to be addressing the one question that I've probably gotten the most over the 25 years in the business when it comes to what people want to know, and that's how do you break into comics and gaming? And it's a question you get a lot from emerging artists, young and old, parents who want to know, how they can support their kids in pursuing an artistic dream. And when I was 16, I decided I wanted to become an artist for a living. And I pursued that goal on my own. I went to art school, and everybody's path is different. Not everyone can go to art school. I didn't go to a high-end fancy art college. I went to just a great four-year school that had a very solid art program. So don't let that path, whether you can or can't go to art school, deter you at all, because that's not the focus here. The focus is, if you're ready, how do you make those first steps into entering into comics, gaming, science fiction, fantasy, and these related pop culture fields. In 1993, when I started in the industry, I worked with some friends and we self-published our own comic book, and that was how we entered the field. Now, it wasn't for several years after that I actually started getting paid work as a freelancer doing cover artwork for other smaller independent companies. So you can go after the freelance way. You can pursue working for a direct company, whether you're an artist or a writer or an inker, any kind of creative in the field, and you can want to go work directly with them, such as Marvel, DC, IDW, Top Cow, a host of others. And so make that your focus. Know what you want to do rather than just, I want to draw comics for a living. So here's what I suggest for you. Number one, the internet. The internet is your friend. We didn't have the internet as a very useful tool. When I first started out, we had to pay to print color copies and get the addresses and mail them into companies, and usually never hear back. If you did hear back from them, 9 out of 10 times or more, you got a rejection letter that was a chain letter, not a chain letter, but a standard letter that everyone would get. Thank you for your submission. You're not what we're looking for at this time, but please try again in the future. And let me tell you, it's about persistence, because I have a stack of letters from those companies, a stack of them. So you have to get a little bit of thick skin and get used to the fact that in this industry, people are very busy. They get not just hundreds of submissions, they get thousands of submissions all the time. Don't let that deter you. If this is your goal, don't let yourself ever be deterred or tell you you can't do it, because you can. And I'm here to tell you can, because I am not a overly talented artist. I'm somebody who had the dedication to pursue my dream in a very relentless fashion, very dedicated fashion. So the internet is your friend. Go to conventions. If you get someone's email that happens to be an editor, then you can introduce yourself through email. And here's what I say: if you have the key email address of somebody that you want to submit to, be persistent, but don't be a pest. Nobody likes a pest, and if you are an egotistical or pesty type person that is blasting them with artwork and you don't hear back from them, even a courtesy response, then you might be barking up the wrong tree. You might not have the skills yet to have them respond to you, or you'll get a pleasant response, but you only get one chance to make a first impression, so don't blow it. Don't submit your samples until you're ready. So I was going to save this until the end of the video, but just know when you're ready. Know where you are in the industry. Look at the very successful artists that are out there, not the crummy ones, but the good ones. That's what you're striving for. These are the people who get work all the time. That's the person whose skill set you want to be similar to, not emulate. Don't knock off an artist. Don't say, I want to draw exactly like J. Scott Campbell or Adam Hughes or a host of other really good artists. Don't do it. We already have artists that work in that fashion. Take the best things from their style and make it your own. Make your style an amalgamation of other people's great art, and then you'll have your own unique voice. So make that something that is always in the back of your mind when you're working on your artwork. Be searching for your own style. Number 2, with the internet, have a website. If you want to be a professional, and I know there's people out there that will disagree, this is one person's opinion, but I say have a website. Have a professional website. Don't just have a page on DeviantArt or a host of other art communities out there. Hey, here's my page, and it's just an address that's part of them with your name after it. There's very inexpensive ways to go to companies like Wix, where you go online, you can download their tool, you can build your own website, and you can pay, I don't know, $10 a month maybe to have your own address, your own email. Invest a little bit in yourself. If you want to be a professional, you need to look like one. I tell people for a long time, if you want to be a big dog, you need to act like one. So have a website. Don't rely on just social media, but use the social media and those things to your advantage. Absolutely use Facebook. Absolutely use Twitter, Instagram. I don't care if it's Reddit, Patreon. Start your own YouTube channel. Get out there and have your fans be exposed to your artwork so that you can get that critique. But don't rely on friends and family for that critique. A really good friend and family member will almost always be supportive. That's what you want. We want them to be supportive of your efforts. But that doesn't mean that they'll give you a brutally honest critique on how ready your artwork is for the industry. I don't want to say good, because good can be very subjective, but if you look across the industry and you look at the caliber of artwork being done in gaming, video games, comics, fantasy art, novel covers, movie posters, all this kind of thing, you can see the benchmark. You can see how good it is, and it is wildly competitive. There's amazing artists all over this world who every day and every night are trying to get better and break into the same industry that you would like to be into. So it's a competitive industry. Don't let that deter you at all. Again, never be deterred. So use the internet to your advantage, social media, have a website, use email. That's very solid. Number 2 big thing, conventions. Conventions are key. Back when I started out, there was only 3, 4, 5 big conventions in the US, some in Europe, that sort of thing. And it was great because you could go and you could meet editors and you could show your work. And there wasn't near the amount of artists going today. The artist alleys weren't as big and robust and full of artists as they are today. But there's also more opportunities. There's probably a convention within 50 to 100 or 200 miles of probably where you live. Doesn't matter if you're in Japan or you're in Texas. Look around for conventions. Start there. You can usually get yourself a table in Artist Alley. Even if you're a non-published artist, start there. Again, invest in yourself. It might cost $50. It might cost $200 to get a table. Put yourself out there. Start getting feedback. Try to make some money with your art. That's a very key thing about conventions. But the other thing about conventions is that editors will be there. If you go to a very big show like Emerald City, Denver, New York, a host of others, obviously San Diego, there's big conventions everywhere, Chicago, all over the world, Italy, you name it. So take time away from your table, walk around, give yourself a morning or an afternoon, have your business cards ready, have a few samples, whether it's physically printed samples you can leave with somebody with a business card that says, hey, I know you're busy, but could I leave you with a sample of my artwork so that you can review it at your leisure? Most of the time they'll take it from you and say, hey, great, thanks. And they'll respect the fact that you respect their time. If you walk up and you just thrust something on them, or you say, hey, do you got a few minutes? Let me look through my phone here and show you some images of my art. That's not going to work. That's not going to play. They're going to want to say, you know what, I'm too busy for that. Submit through the normal channels. So be prepared, but be respectful of their time and think to yourself, how can I make my artwork or your writing or your package, whether it's a proposal for a movie or whatever, or a video game. Have that ready, have it be professional, have your contact information on it. And that's why it's key to have websites and other things where people can go review your artwork at their leisure. So that's critical. Sometimes at the bigger conventions too, there will be portfolio reviews from either editors who have signed up, such as Marvel or DC, independents, or even a guest. Often if there's a guest of honor artist, and the big shows have many of them, they'll usually partake in portfolio reviews. So make sure that if there are those opportunities, that you avail yourself of those. And if that does happen and you get a chance to talk to a pro, whether you approach them in an artist alley or you're doing a portfolio review, make sure that you know the proper way to handle that and that you take critique well. You have to be able to take critique well and not get defensive. That's one thing that we artists have a tendency to do. We get defensive if somebody says something negative about our art because it's personal. We're putting ourselves out there. We're opening ourselves up to critique. So handle it well. Be courteous. If they give you some constructive feedback like you need to work on anatomy, or I would like to see this in your samples, or you seem to be solid with inking but your color work needs some more attention, say absolutely, thank you so much. Take those notes to heart. Start working on that stuff. And that way it will help you get better. It'll be a useful review and you'll be remembered as a courteous fan. And I've done reviews for people in the past where they have gone on to actually professional careers. And so I feel incredibly thankful when that happens, when I can support somebody whose efforts. One young person who I did a review at when I was guest of honor at San Diego, within 1 year had the cover of Heavy Metal magazine. And he was ready to leave the industry because he'd gotten bad reviews. And I said, look, you were talking to the wrong kind of people. He was a fantasy artist. These were comics people. And they said, you're never going to make it. It just frustrates me when I hear that somebody would shoot down somebody's dreams like that. So avail yourself of those pro reviews, anything that has to do with Artist Alley. Take critique and rejection well. The third big thing after conventions, we have internet, we have conventions. Third big thing is samples. Make sure that your samples are the right kinds of samples. We'll use the comic book industry as an example. So almost nobody breaks in just being a cover artist. We all want to be a cover artist because it's kind of like the glitzy glam thing to be painting covers and say, I want to be, Alex Ross, or I want to be some of these other guys who do a lot of covers. Let me tell you, almost every one of these artists also put in their time and did sequential pages. Myself included, one of my first projects took me a year, fully painted comic book as a sample that I wanted to submit to Heavy Metal. Took me a long time. I did it in the evenings while I was working my regular graphic design job. But I had those samples for when I needed it. And eventually later it was published as a comic. But it doesn't matter if it's Alex Ross or some of these other people that I mentioned. They're very high profile artists now, but one of his greatest works, in my opinion, was Kingdom Come, which was a fully painted book that was just way ahead of its time. Amazingly painted book. So don't just do pinups. That almost any pro I've ever heard will, when you hear people talking about reviews and things, they'll say, don't just do pinups. It's not going to get you anywhere. And it's true. You need to show that you can tell a story, even if it's a story in one panel, because that's oftentimes what a cover illustration is. So make sure you have some sequential samples, really good, of actual whole pages. Or if you're a video game person, study what people want to see, whether that's Maya, 3D rendering, backgrounds, textures, whatever it is that you're after. Number 2 in the samples department is original characters. I like to stress for people that original characters and things like that can be key. And the reason is that will set you apart from the slew of other people that are in your same position that would like to get their artwork noticed. And if you all show up with Batman and Deadpool and Harley Quinn and all these popular characters that everybody loves to draw, your artwork isn't going to stand out. That's the bottom line. It probably won't be remembered, even if you're good. because they've already seen maybe 25 Harley Quinns that day. They're going to be like, if I have to look at one more, I'm going to explode. So, but if you were to show up with an amazing piece that or pieces, a portfolio that was well-rounded, that had a few pieces in there like that, showing recognizable characters, but then you also had some really great, really awesome artwork in your style that is dragons and mermaids and wizards and heroes and things from historical fantasy or a scene from World War II. There is a million themes out there that people, artists today, they aren't thinking of. They think, oh, well, I need to have, these recognizable characters. It's okay, have some of it, but don't go overboard. If you have some other original content, it'll show that you can think originally and not just be derivative of what you've seen before, even if you like those great artists who have already done that art. So keep that in mind. And I think that the less fan art part will help you stand out. I see a lot of artists today who they do a lot of the sketch covers and things, and sketch covers are great because you can make some money with them, and they're quick and they don't have to be licensed or anything. But the problem is what I see a lot of artists falling into this trap is that's all they do. The fans out there commission some of their art and they get a little bit of money for it, and then I feel that they fall into the trap of, wow, I'm a professional artist, I'm making money at this. Yes, the definition of professional is that you make money with your art, but can you take it to the next level where you're not being a fan artist doing fan art for fans, but the goal is to do published art. You want that company like Wizards of the Coast to pick up the phone and say, we want you to be on the next set for Magic. We want you to do a series of 5 covers for Batman or for a new title that's coming out. And is that likely? Probably not. I think the best place to shoot for when you're sending samples is start low. And that doesn't mean low quality. It means the smaller companies. So I would say pursue the first and second tier independent companies that are smaller. They're easier to approach. They get less submissions. If you go after Marvel and DC Gate, it's not too likely that it'll happen, but there are some great companies out there, even right now, that are accepting submissions. It doesn't matter if it's Coffin Comics doing Lady Death, Top Cow, which is a great upper and mid-tier company, Image, all this sort of thing. But there's so many great opportunities out there with other companies like IDW, Boom, Oni Press, Graffiti, a host of independent and self-publishers. It's a great way to start. You've got to start there. I started there. My first fully painted cover and a couple of covers was for Helena for Lightning Comics back in 1995, I think. So anyway, I started there. I worked there. The goal for me in the industry is not to be a fad, not to be an overnight success, not to suddenly go viral and then burn out and fade away. You want to have that good, long, solid career with loyal fans that will support your artwork and buy it and enjoy it, get commissions from you, things like that. So try to look at your approach as stair steps in your career, and you'll have a more solid foundation because you'll have the backing of fans and a solid reputation. So I hope that all this knowledge, it is a much longer video than I thought. Apparently I had a lot to say when it comes to this knowledge and information, but I'm very passionate about it. I want you artists out there to succeed. I want the next generation of artists who create artwork for fantasy and gaming things to just be amazing painters, digital illustrators, writers, movie makers, animators, all this sort of thing. It's an amazing, brave new world. So I'm excited to see what's all coming in that next generation of artists, which if you're watching this, there's a good chance you might be part of, or maybe you just enjoy the ramblings of comic book artists. So I hope this helps. And if you do think that it helps and you enjoyed the video, please do me a favor, just hit the like button. Not because it's an ego thing at all, but the way rankings work in internet and especially on YouTube is that it's more likely to rank and get out there with other folks, so that people can, this knowledge can spread to other people, other artists, young and old alike. Hopefully that information is helpful. So again, thanks for spending your time and enjoying this segment. I hope it was useful. I hope it was inspiring. Please feel free to make comments in the section below. You can check out my website at mavericarts.com, mavarts. You can subscribe to this channel here on Art Attack, and you can send me a Facebook friend request at Monte Michael Moore on Facebook, and on Instagram, mavarts, and Studio Scarab on the Twitter. All right, thanks much. We'll see you in the future.